Welcome back everyone to Let's Play Advanced Tactics Gold, episode number 8. So let's continue on from where we finished off in the last episode. We're just trying to end this turn. There are a few changes I will make. First of all, our headquarters has 18,000 rail capacity. Now it's about 4,000 to move an armored car. So what I'm going to do is create a new armored car division at this oil. Just somewhere over here. I guess 1, 2, I might as well just make it here. It should work just as well. It should take up... Actually, I can move this back if I want, strategically deploy it to here, which is fine. Just means a little bit less distance I have to go to strategically deploy. And now let's transfer from our main headquarters to here some of these armored cars. This was ultimately the idea I had for creating these divisions, is that we no longer have to move them using valuable, very valuable oil. We can actually just move them with transfer. So there's that, and then there's the 1, 2, I don't think we'll be able to get all of them, 13. So 13 of the 16 riflemen we need, we can move in directly. Now I want to do it this way instead of moving them into the main headquarters. Why is that? Because this unit is already going to have extremely low readiness, but these armored cars have not been impacted, their readiness I should say, has not been impacted by this transfer. So I can just kind of leave this unit to recuperate. It essentially, you can think of it as making its way here still. It's going to be ready to fight faster than if it had driven. But we're just going to leave it here to replenish its readiness. It's an emergency reserve, we could also think of it that way. And its readiness will slowly go up, but if I need these 2 armored cars to fill in, if we lost an armored car in one of our divisions, well, this is going to be, these are going to be available as higher readiness replacements, which is definitely what we want. Now, as far as production goes, I'm going to try to speed through this. I think orange is still going to take 16 staff, and 8 rifle and 8 staff, I'm okay with that. And then 16 rifle, because this is still at 113%. So there's no reason to add more staff to that. Now we do have a very large number of political points, and more slated for, every turn we're producing a lot of political points. You can see that political points is not quite 50% of my production, because my capital, one of my biggest production centers, is only doing 30% production. And I don't know, it depends on if you include the factories into the equation or not, but let's discount them because I can build as many of those as I want. So I consider that like a different pool. If it's just my city's pool, then we're almost at 50% production. I'm also going to disregard captured cities because they don't have an option to produce anything else anyway. So we're just below 50%, which shows you how tech heavy I plan to go. And the idea is just to move very quickly into very good machine guns, and then build them immediately, so that we get a big leg up on the defensive. Not only that, but machine guns, I've mentioned this a few times, but I think it bears repeating, are extremely good on the offensive even. So instead of attacking at 13, these attack at 90. Now considering the hit points of a unit, normal infantry unit is 100, it's basically a 50% chance to eliminate an infantry, a rifleman at least, or another machine gun or whatever. So yeah, machine guns are actually very effective against infantry, even on the offensive. Now they're not quite as worth it on the offensive from a price efficiency. You get so much bang for your buck when they're, entrenched and defending. It just, as you'd expect, the machine guns just mow down their opposition. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to do, is get the machine guns going. The problem is, to do that, I'm going to have to sacrifice something. Basically, there's no free lunch. You can't just create units from nothing. And what do I think we can cut down on? I think it might end up being political points. So I don't want to... Do I have enough trains? So we can see I don't have enough trains to move as many units forward as I'd like. We may even risk, I think we will risk, in fact, one final exodus of troops. And they'll take 20 because why not? If we're already moving them down the road, why not move them as full as they can be? So this, and then we'll transfer this headquarters to what though? And that's a good question. The problem I have right now, the thing I was looking at a lot off camera, and I think this is what the recordings will end up boiling down to, is a lot of what explaining my strategies, or like, you know, I think of this as like a general going into a briefing room and discussing the options. And I have looked at it as a general would before coming into this room, before talking about it. Anyways, what I was looking at is, how do we attack right now? We have this armored car surplus, which is going to continue to produce 8 armored cars for us every turn. And we can already see they're starting to build up. I'm running out of frontage for them to be used. So what I think, it's not really, if we can pretend armored cars are like robots, you know, it's not really sensible from a human life standpoint. It's kind of more of the, might be more of like a Russian World War II doctrine. Bodies fill the gaps and stuff, and just utilizing, you know, thinking about the numbers. That's what I'm doing here, is I'm crunching the numbers. Basically, since we have a surplus of armored cars, and we're getting more of them, they're a great offensive tool. What we should be doing is trying to use this extra resource that we have to eliminate a constrained resource that the enemy has. And that constrained resource should be their infantry. So if we can run armored cars against their infantry, even if we don't get very favorable returns on our exchanges, it should be okay. And that reminds me of another thing I wanted to do. Right now, if I launch an attack with 3 of these armored car units, I'm just over 100, which is a little bit unfortunate. If I lower this rifleman quantity down to 13, I'm going to take potentially more armored car losses, but you know what, that's actually okay. It means my armored cars will be targeted a little bit more, and you don't really want that. But what this will allow, and you know what, okay, I'm going to hedge a little bit here. I'm going to choose 14. This is going to mean that when I have 3 armored cars in the attack, instead of being 108, I think it was before, now it's only going to be 102. So the stacking penalty will be less for, or you can think of it as, if we lose even just 2 riflemen out of the total 3 divisions, we'll no longer have a stacking penalty. So normally you like to create units that are all at 50, or if they're not at 50, they're at 25. And I could do this 25 if I made these armored car divisions. I could do 25 if I do 3 armored cars and 10 riflemen, which is not a terrible, it's not terrible. I think that's not an unfair ratio. So that's 3 to 2. I mean, it's 3 to 10 obviously, but like 3 to 2 if riflemen are groups of 5. So we could also do 6 to 4. Could do 6 armored cars and 20 riflemen. If we did 6 armored cars to 20 riflemen, we'd be at exactly 50. And that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, basically then it would be completely compatible with my infantry. The difference between the 25 and the 50, we're really talking for a long time, but the difference between 25 and 50 is just granularity, right? So we can move different units and if we have like one unit that we're trying to surround, well, if the units I have are 25 stacks, I should have twice as many of them instead of stacks of 50. Then maybe I can surround a unit by more. I don't think there's any disadvantage to having split units other than the political points it costs to build the different division cards. So, you know, there's really something to be said about this. It's maybe something I'll look forward to doing in the future, is this 3 armored car, 10 infantry type thing. Because I do still like to be a bit infantry heavy. Now, we'll stick with this very armored car heavy, and we'll see how it works. Maybe the 2 riflemen, I don't think it'll make a big difference, but it means that at least we'll be, if we fight with 3 armored cars in every battle, we can treat this as 100. So, you know, I don't think there's anything more I need to do. I already talked pretty much as I expected to, or much longer than I expected to. So another thing is our supply is actually not doing so well. Notice that the required sent out, whatever. So let's just look at required is 800. Required here is 1,000. Required here is 1,200. So that's something like 3,000, maybe 4,000. And if we look at, that doesn't include, sent out means does not include the units in the HQ itself, I believe. So we're only producing 4,000 supply. We're probably behind on this. So I'm going to have to sacrifice political points and even one rifleman to get 2,000 supply more. So we'll do that in order to not fall behind on our supply, to make sure everyone's well supplied. Okay, so now as I was beginning to say quite like 5 minutes ago, I was talking about, General moving to a room, proposing his ideas. We cannot attack in the south. We're limited because we're out of supply. So our supply here is 92. We can see already here my supply is at 111. If we go any further forward beyond these 3 hexes, if you remember, that's already out of supply. We can't go any further. So, I mean, not out of supply, it's just yellow. And I'm already sacrificing 1 unit to yellow because the mountain, the high mountain, I feel is that important. It's worth it. It's basically worth it to get it. But until we can bring an engineer forward, and this is the closest engineer, we cannot really advance in the south, which means that we want to advance in the north, which is why it's going to be beneficial to build armored car divisions with the 2nd Army. Not to mention that the 2nd Army is only at 65 staff and not 101, so it has a lot less units attached to it right now. So, well, I guess for that reason, we'll just go ahead and make this one part of the 2nd Army as well. So we'll want to put a lot more armored cars in 2nd Army because there's a lot of open plains, and probably what I'll even do is next turn, I'll back off. I'll actually shift my front backwards to suck them in from behind the river. I would say that this is normally not a good idea. It's surprisingly difficult. Excuse me. Surprisingly difficult to take ground in Advanced Tactics Gold. When I did my play-by-email multiplayer series that was on the channel, I found that it was actually extremely difficult to make ground. And I don't think it's as difficult against the AI. They're going to have lower readiness units sometimes, or, I can use artillery. I don't know. I mean, they're not as smart as a human player, but it's very easy, I think, to run into the same problem. So we're just going to make an exception to this rule of thumb that you shouldn't do this, and we're going to pull back and basically invite them forward. So let's see what happens. They're just basically manning the front. Still manning the front. Oh, they didn't attack. Looks like that we lost 3 and they lost 11 is what I saw. So it was a success. They pulled back in the south. Okay, so yes, we lost 3 men. We killed 11. We also killed probably a truck. That was a good battle for us. I mean, you can see that even my attacks are usually better, 3 to 1 or better. Our defense was actually nearly almost worse than my attacks, because we usually attack in such a commanding position. Okay, so then in the north, this is what we have to think about, is how to pull back. Also, to prevent these open plains units from being attacked, what I should be doing as well is putting armored cars in those. So I might have to borrow an armored car from somewhere down here. I mean, we should have 2 armored cars in these positions. I like the fact that we have 1 armored car in the low mountains, though. That's going to make that hex really difficult, that area really difficult for the enemy to counterattack. Seems pretty clear to me that this unit is going to be subjected to bombardment. We have 2 artillery here. We also have the 4th Army there. We did get the 5th. Okay, good. So we need to create, before I forget, we need to create another artillery. And I think this new one is also going to go in the north. I like to alternate because, first of all, I like to have 2. I like to have artillery in groups of 2 so that they're at the, basically if you have 2 artillery attacking the same hex, that's the maximum you can without being over the attack stack. But I know that I'm going to need a lot of help. Well, I guess it's fine. I was saying we're not really even pushing in the south, so kind of seems to imply my artillery should go to the north. You know what? I really can't argue with that. That is still exactly true. So I'll create a new here. And yeah, this won't affect the staff ratio or anything, so this will be in the next artillery. And then probably after we have 3 or maybe even 4 per army, we'll switch them up to the 5 and 5, horses and artillery. So it'll take a little while for that to happen. Okay, so what do we plan to do this turn? Well, actually, I guess first and foremost we can do the engineer movement. So we'll go here. We're at 120, be at 160 next turn. That'll be dropped. We actually do need enough political points to do these, and I think it's 40 there. And we'll also go to here, build a road, another road. So we'll probably need 1, 2, and then 3 roads, and then we'll upgrade the oil. So good, next turn we're actually going to get 2 more oils, which means 1,500 extra oil. So with that in mind, we probably can be a little bit less conservative with our oil consumption this turn. Not that there's going to be, it looks like, a lot of places for us to use that oil. We're going to be pulling back. We haven't been like pushing as many units forward. Yeah, we're, you know what, this is actually, I think we're okay. I think we've made it past the oil crisis. We don't need any more trains, I'd say. Let's get more political points because, oh, you know what? No, we're probably not going to do that. What's our supply at now? 6,000, 6,700, okay. That's, maybe I should take it, I don't know. Let's do like 30. I'm going to leave this in trains for right now, which is not what it's going to be, but just because we're going to get machine guns. It's long overdue time. I think I already showed how effective these can be. Because we have the political points, I'm just going to move directly to machine gun 2. Now, one thing I was considering is, what about moving directly to machine gun 3? We're planning to make 52. If I go to machine gun 3, we'll have 23 left. 23, 52, 75, right? So that won't be enough. I guess I could squeeze out an extra political point somewhere. Yeah, I could do it here. Is that enough? 56. No, that's still not enough. I need one more even. So we would have to really short ourselves on rifles. This can be machine gun 2. Well, I won't change it quite yet because we might go to machine gun 3. Let's think about it a little bit longer. Okay, so your staff is 106, yours is 111. These guys, this doesn't really need more staff. We can actually send all the staff back to the main headquarters because it'll auto-staff these anyway. So we can dump. Okay, there's 8 and 8 here, which I think this one will just become the only one. So let's do 0, 20. And this one will become all riflemen. And what I'll do is switch this one to that. This one will stay. This is the one, right? Yeah, staff will stay there. And then I'll switch this one back to my Supreme Headquarters so that this one should be staff. Let's have it go 50-50. I don't know what we need in terms of riflemen or staff, but something like that. You're getting staff. I just want to make sure we're not low on staff. We're 102. We're basically just exactly towing the line, the perfect line. So yeah, okay, that I think that's probably all gonna work. So we do have enough now at plus 60 and having, yeah, we can go to machine gun 3 directly. Why am I trying to do this? Basically, if we go to machine gun 3 directly, it saves us some supply cost in upgrading them from 2 to 3 because we can just build them at 3 right away. I think the upgrade cost is like 2 per unit, so we're not talking a whole lot considering we're making like 2,000 supply per turn, or 6,000. I mean 2,000 just from a capital city. So maybe it's a little too min-maxy, but I think I'm going to do it. We're going to do machine gun 3. It's going to help us with hugely with our offensives. So, and because, I mean, this is another way of thinking about it. If I'm talking about how valuable everything that I can build from a city is, I might as well try to get as high hit point stuff or as effective stuff as possible, which means that the very limited resources I have for a city is used in the best way possible. So this is actually only going to give us 24 machine guns. Wow. Okay. I'll have to sacrifice. Like one of these will have to be sacrificed in terms of getting rid of their supply. I think it'll have to be this one. We have 16 staff coming in. Well, the main headquarters doesn't actually need to have staff ratios, so I'm going to go ahead and eliminate this and put machine gun in here. And we produce like fractions of them because it's 800 and 250 or whatever. So we produce fractions of them unless we produce 50. This gives us, it's 4,000, 250, so 16. 50% of 8,000 is 4,000. 4,000 divided by 250 is 16. So that gives us a nice flat number, which is nice. Yeah, I think we'll do this. This will give us a few extra machine guns. Now we're producing how many? 50? 40. So we're getting 40 machine guns. How do we make this pay any dividends? Well, the next thing is we actually should add them to our formation down here. I'm going to do a little bit of a tricky thing. I'm going to add them without subtracting. I'm only going to add 4. We'll keep adjusting this ratio over time, but I want to get to 40 and 10 eventually. But for now I'm going to do 50 and 4. The reason I'm not doing 46 and 4 is because it's going to take a little while for my machine guns to trickle down. And while that's happening, I don't want to cripple or decrease the effectiveness of any of my units. Just keep them at 50, and then when it's time, which probably is even just next turn, that's when we'll trigger the decrease, because we definitely are not going to have enough machine guns for everyone. I mean, if we're even asking for just 4 machine guns, how many divisions of infantry do we have? I mean, at least 12, right? I see this number 12. 13, so we have at least 13. Didn't I make a new infantry somewhere? If I didn't, you know, I ought to. Let's just make a new one here. Get this one to be infantry. Okay, so 14, yes, we have 14 now. I will strategically deploy this guy here as well, actually, because it's better if they're not in the same hex as my headquarters, just for ease of being able to assign this to as a headquarters to different units. So, okay, the fact that this armored car can't move here, which is where we were attacked last turn, where I would prefer it to be, means I'm going to move it here. And I think this guy, so we're going to move backwards, right? I think it's pretty obvious this guy moves north. We only have 11 riflemen in this one, so he has to be very careful. I think we move this guy north. And I don't know if we move this guy here and just have him become part of this headquarters. Probably that's what we do. Anyway, first I want to do an attack on this unit. And we're down now. We have the 114. I mean, we have that. Okay, we do not want this unit, actually. Ah, perfect. So this guy moves here. And this guy just moves back down here. Actually, okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's move him here. And I'm going to have him switch headquarters as well. So probably, okay, I got lucky. Should not have done that before my attack. And this attack actually can be supported by artillery. The first time in the north we've been able to do this. There is another way I can get this attack to happen with more artillery, is if I move this in directly now. But if I do that, it's going to suffer a 50% penalty of readiness. It's going to be at like 30%. It's not worth it because the unit will take longer to get up to full strength anyway. So I'd rather, it's basically sacrificing the unit readiness in the long term for one turn, a short term game. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to allow that unit to get up to its full readiness faster, which means that long term benefit is better. So we'll do the artillery attack with only 1 unit. But it should be giving us, yeah, a full 10 rounds, which is probably going to be very effective against this low number of infantry. Okay, I thought it would be a little bit better, but that's not bad. So 7 units for free, 4 retreated. The readiness is reduced from 99 to 37, which is pretty good. Now, basically all we have to do is deal with the armored cars, and there are 4 of them. Okay, well here we go. Let's move this guy north and do our attack with... Now, we don't really care about armored cars, right? They're just We can replace them whenever, and we only lost 1 unit, and we eliminated all the armored cars. Only a few of their infantry retreated. That was much more successful than I was expecting. Okay, so now where do we move these units? I think we move them just diagonal back. These guys are going to stay here. Not just because this turn in the river means that we can leave these two open, but also because I don't want to... There's already a lot of units here, and I don't want to expose a third side to this unless I pull this unit back, and I don't know if we're going to be pulling these units back. There are armored cars there to defend, but yeah, let's just hold here because this hex is actually full of a lot of fragile units, so we'll protect it. Yeah, obviously we cannot pull back because we have to protect this hex. Just makes sense. And this one, which is ready to go, we're going to move it forward here is fine. Even here is lacking reinforcements yet. We don't have an armored car there, but how many do we have? Okay, so let's see. We have 2 potential infantry here. This one will move forward eventually. So this one is probably slated to go up here. We're missing an armored car there. Yeah, we definitely... So we want infantry and armored car, 1 end of each on every hex. That's plains and fields. If it's forest or mountains or anything like that, we can deal with 2 infantry, especially now that we're going to have machine guns on those. So this is just too many because we're essentially using the 9th and 10th as 1 unit since they're both pretty low on numbers. You are 50% readiness, so you need time to heal. Not bad though, because now the proximity for these guys is 60%. Obviously it'd be better if these are also part of the orange. So we'll probably have to swap them in and out. We have this guy who's coming up. Oh, he's actually almost completely ready as well. So let's go here. Our royal situation is not too bad. Switch you over to Armored Recon. And he'll transfer his units back, and then we can deploy him where we want him to go next turn. I think we're okay. So we have 2 Armored Recon here, 1 infantry. It's got 90 entrenchment. That's incredible. I guess the fields really does offer a lot more than plains. I think plains max is like 25 or 50. We have good... Yeah, is this plains? It is. So plains, you can see our units are entrenching at 25. Oh, 65. Okay, so 65 is what you max that at. And he is prio, but you know what? That's the only unit, by the way, that is priority. I checked. It's probably good that he's priority. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're done. Probably we save here. We're done with this turn. Move this guy forward. No, of course we're not done. We have bombardment in the south to do. Okay, yeah, we have some fun stuff still to do. First of all, let's take ground with this. Do this to conquer all that. Gonna move this guy forward here, but not forward here yet. Although I do want him to move there, I think, because it'll be in this guy's zone of control. But we're gonna attack him first. He's not gonna be able to contribute with the attack anyway. Might as well save the 10 action points of moving into an enemy zone of control by attacking him, moving him back, making him retreat first. Then we don't have to face the zone of control. I don't think I need to attack, bombard this with both. It's pretty weak with 22 riflemen, so what I'm going to do is only bombard it with the first, with the plan that the, what's the other one in this? The second artillery actually moves forward here, also after this one has retreated, so we don't lose more action points due to zone of control. That means more action points we can use in the bombardment of this one. So let's go ahead and do that. Execute the plan. Okay, so we actually destroyed the truck and 3 other infantry. Their readiness is from 74 down to 11. That's incredible. Entrenchment is 23 down to 0. So yeah, we only killed 3 rifle, we killed 1 truck, but the morale damage or the disorganization we've caused is enormous. So we move this group of infantry down here. Yeah, now we're ready to attack. 20% bonus because surrounding on 3 sides. Plus, the readiness is practically gone. Let's see how we do. Yeah, so we eliminated the armored car, 5 survived, only lost 1. 1 dead for 17 riflemen and an armored car. So kind of ratios I'll take any day. Now, I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Actually not move forward. It'd be 40 to move forward, it means I couldn't move back. I want to suck them back out into this area. So first of all, let me move my artillery down here. And then I can do bombardment here. Very nice. We will only get 7 rounds. There it is, because it took 25 to move into the hex. That's 1 more round than if we had moved into the enemy zone of control. So we didn't do much, just killed 5 units, but again, readiness from 73 down to 44, which is pretty important. And even that lowers their morale, it looks like, 48 down to 46. So that's pretty good. Now that concludes everything we want to do here, except I think the 15th is actually going to move and support here because I don't like leaving my artillery vulnerable on the front lines. We had to do that, so let's just double protect that hex with 2 armored cars. I don't think that they would survive very well against that if they chose to attack it, especially with lower readiness. The other option, I mean, we're going to do this, but the other option is we could actually push hard and try to take back this little bridge right here. Without engineers anywhere near us, we're really going to need to do 2 things in the south before we can aggressively push. And the first and foremost, by far, is to build roads. So we're doing okay on supply down here. This is 42, 42, 67, 87. So let's see, 42, then it would be 67, then 87, so 67. And then it'd be more than 87 because it'd be moving into forest. So this would already be out of supply. We'll need some roads if we want that. But this is obviously the most, I mean, it's the most obvious choice for a fortress or fortification right here. Even you don't need one. You could probably do fortification here and then just put some infantry in the marsh. The swamp doesn't offer entrenchment. It's like, I think, the lowest entrenchment available. But at the same time, it'd be a stream crossing for any infantry. And no vehicles can attack into this hex because it's swamp. So it's unfortunately really terrible for defense against artillery, but until they show that they have artillery, we should be okay. Now, I wanted to mention one other thing about this airbase. I was thinking about it, and the AI is not using, probably not using as much production for political points, and they don't have the ability to even get, there's an exact order. I think infantry gun is after armored car for them. I think there's like an exact order. It might be percentage based actually. There might be some randomness to it, but dive bombers and fighters, which come for them eventually, are further down in the usual order of unlocking things tech-wise for the AI. So although they built an aircraft factory, it ends up being like a real benefit to me because they're not going to be able to use it for a long time. And if they had built that as like an armored car, a vehicle factory, or I should say, tank factory or gun factory, we'd be facing real problems with like infantry guns. I know that they'll be getting, and obviously our armored cars we're already seeing. So okay, so 33 minutes for 1 turn, hooray! I'm trying to avoid this, but there's a lot to talk about. I'm trying to keep it as informative moving forward as possible, and I kind of enjoy this discussion of all the different ideas, all the different ways we could play this. So I think I'll move this guy forward to support the 6th just for now, and we will keep this guy. You can see he only received 37 of the 50 he wanted. We'll have to rotate him in and out. We'll move this unit, plains versus fields. I guess we'll move him into the plains. We could be doing some attacking here. I'm not going to this turn, I don't think. We could attack without moving in. So it's not a bad idea. Let's see. Because we do need to get rid of armored cars and such. I might also move this unit forward. It actually is foot, so it's supply stockpile we can actually carry because it has so many staff and horses. We could actually move forward 1 hex. I think that would be beneficial. It's going to help. These guys are at 60%. Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and do that. Since we're moving left, although we're moving kind of down away from the 2nd and the 3rd up here, which are the furthest north, they're at 60. I know it won't change because we're also moving left, so they're still at 60. But these guys are now at 80. So that helps a little bit. And every little bit helps, right? So this guy's at 80, he was before at 60. And this guy is at 100. Well, that didn't change. Never mind, this guy was at 80 before as well, because 1. It's either from Sendai or from here, 1, and then 2, 3, 4. So, same difference. But these guys down here are closer. And if we want to do anything in the south or anything up here, it's a good move to move forward. It's just going to stretch the supplies from our capital a little bit further. But that's okay for now. Okay, so I'll wrap it up here. Next turn, what can we expect? Well, 2 more oil things upgrading. We didn't even use all our oil this turn. We're up 2,000, so we probably have finally cracked the oil terribleness, the oil troubles we were having. Actually, I probably do want to support this unit a little bit more. The 13th should move here. Because this is, I mean, not only do I want to eventually swap these guys to Second Army, but this is a very vulnerable point. I mean, look at this unit, 100 units ready to attack. So now we have doubled up, which is what I want, all across the front, well, at least across these 4 hexes. And we should be getting there in the far north and far south soon. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying this. This was a fun episode for me. And we'll can't wait to see how the machine guns work in action. Until the next episode, thanks for watching and take care.